I'm Scott Hoagland. This is Planet Hemp.
I was sitting in a Motel 6 and the Bible was there on the shelf, so I decided to pick it up and read a verse. Well, according to Genesis chapter 1, verse 29, God gave every man every herb bearing a seed which is on the earth. Well, this plant I have which bears a seed ended me up in a jail, and they took my herb away and threw me in a cage. Well, that makes me ask the question, who are the...
Throughout this program, you will learn how one of the world's oldest cultivated crops can play a major role in dealing with some of today's environmental struggles, as well as increasing the wealth, economy, and well-being of its population.
Gotta go and hide. Gotta stick together and tell them this shit ain't right. Learn first and then decide.
Allow me to introduce Dr. Tom Maloney.
Research, hemp goes back a long ways for being used by man.
Dr. Maloney is the head of the Wood Materials and Engineering Department at the Washington State University. It is in his laboratories that he and his associates test building products manufactured from hemp. Next, I'd like you to meet Ken Friedman, president of American Hemp Mercantile in Seattle, Washington. Ken imports and sells goods made from hemp, including paper, fabric, food, even furniture. And this is Paul Stanford, president of Tree Free Eco Paper in Portland, Oregon. Paul sells the many paper products that can be made from hemp, from envelopes to letterhead to corrugated boxes to computer paper.
Well, our paper's made from non-wood fiber, primarily hemp.
But first, let's clear the air of a few misconceptions. Hemp and marijuana are often referred to as the same substance, but this is untrue.
Hemp is a plant that grows over most of the world. Its Latin name is Cannabis sativa. It is the same plant that marijuana comes from, but it's grown differently, and they hybrid it so it's very low in THC.
If you were to think of an apple tree, hemp would be the tree itself, the bark, the roots, the stems, the leaves, the whole tree. Marijuana would then be the fruit of the tree, or the apples.
Hemp is a crop that grows annually. It grows relatively rapidly, depending on location. And Pacific Northwest, from what I understand, is a good location for growing the hemp plant. You can get a lot of material grown annually. You can grow it on land that might not be good for forest.
Perhaps the biggest hurdle tripping the hemp industry is the mistaken idea that when hemp is grown, marijuana is always produced.
What a lot of people get confused about, what is hemp and what's marijuana, and I think in other parts of your program you're discussing that, but they're quite different. I always tell people, I say, well, what is hemp? I say, well, just think about hemp rope. That's the hemp that you're really familiar with.
Marijuana is only grown on female plants. If male plants are grown, only industry-usable material is produced. Besides growing only male plants, science has created a genetic hybrid that produces no marijuana whatsoever.
Or non-industrial hemp would be illegal marijuana, the things that's being grown in people's basements or imported from Thailand. Industrial hemp is a different hybrid. It's grown differently. It's grown for the stalk. All the fibers come from the stalk, so they grow it close together. They don't grow it for the leaves or the buds.
It's the same plant, but the plant that produces the best and most fiber doesn't produce the psychoactive substance in any quantities that are useful for drug production.
They've been doing it for generations in Western Europe and for centuries in Eastern Europe. In fact, in the United States, we had industrial hemp until 1937.
Scientists have dated hemp use back 12,000 years. It is known to be one of the first 4 cultivated crops.
12,000 years ago, hemp was one of the first crops that was purposely cultivated by human beings in the first agricultural settlements that sprung up in the Tigris-Euphrates valleys and in the Yellow River Valley.
Sailing ships used hemp to make the sailcloth, and hemp's been used in making paper for centuries and centuries.
This one plant was used to make the paper that Bibles and even the Declaration of Independence were printed on. Hemp has been woven into garments throughout history and across the world. Not only was the very first American flag sewn by Betsy Ross made from hemp, but so were the clothes and supplies of the many soldiers that fought to keep her waving.
It was illegal not to grow hemp in some of the British colonies because they needed it for their sails and their ropes, and they needed enough of a production to satisfy the Navy.
But more recently, in the 1940s, when the United States was at war in the Pacific and many of our supplies were cut off, the United States government produced a video called Hemp for Victory. This video was to encourage farmers to grow hemp for the war effort.
American hemp must meet the needs of our Army and Navy as well as of our industries. In 1942, patriotic farmers at the government's request planted 36,000 acres of seed hemp, an increase of several thousand percent. The goal for 1943 is 50,000 acres of seed hemp.
Today, when grown for paper production, it would take 4 acres of trees to make the same amount of usable pulp material as 1 acre of hemp.
Well, hemp is the longest and strongest plant fiber, so it can make a stronger paper than wood fiber. Wood fiber's maximum length is about 7 to 8 millimeters, where hemp fiber can be up to 3 meters long, or hundreds of times longer.
That same 1 acre of hemp can be harvested 3 times a year, for hemp only has a 120-day growing season.
Tree-free paper can be made with any combination of hemp pulp from 10% to 90% to 100%. The paper we're currently producing is 90% hemp, 10% cotton. And it's got the obvious advantages over wood pulp because you don't need to cut trees to make nice paper. It's also stronger than wood pulp. It can be recycled more times.
According to USDA Bulletin 404, a waste product from making canvas, rope, lace, and linen, that waste product makes more than 4 times more paper than trees. According to a Dutch study that was published in last July of '93's Pulp and Paper magazine, the total production from hemp, both the bast fiber, which can be made into both paper and textiles, plus the hurd fiber, those fibers together produce more than 8 times more paper than the most productive tree species.